Lebanese will pay 66% more for petrol as the government raised prices to ease a crippling fuel shortage. The decision follows an emergency meeting over the weekend. The exchange rate used to price petroleum products has been adjusted, resulting in the cost surge. But up to $225 million will be reserved to subsidise imports until the end of September. The price hike is expected to bring more hardship to already struggling consumers. At a time when electricity supplies are almost non-existent, fuel oil to run generators for homes, businesses and hospitals has also been in short supply. Iran has sent a shipment of fuel through the Lebanese group it backs, Hezbollah, and says it's ready to send more if needed. But Lebanon risks US sanctions over the shipment.
On the 10th day of Muharram, I said that within hours our first ship will sail from Iran. Of course, now the situation has changed. Now the ship is at sea carrying fuel. I add and I tell you that our second ship will sail within a few days, God willing, and other ships will follow. What we will bring is for all the Lebanese and to all of those residing on Lebanese territory. This fuel is not coming to the Hezbollah party, the Shiites, or the Lebanese region, excluding another.
For more on this, Imogen Kimber joins us now from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Hi, Imogen. So more pain for people in Lebanon with this rather sharp rise in petrol prices, which is effective immediately. What sort of reaction have you seen to this decision?
Well, we have seen some roadblocks today, and we might see some more, but the biggest reaction that we've seen, certainly in Beirut, is that people are not using their cars because now they can't afford to, as you mentioned. But a week and a half ago, when this drop in subsidy was first mentioned by the governor of the central bank, the reaction then was that the people went straight to the petrol stations, of course, because they wanted to buy the fuel before the subsidy was dropped. But at the same time, the fuel suppliers, of course, wanted to hold on to the fuel until the subsidy was dropped so that they could get a higher price for it. So what we saw then was some petrol stations without fuel at all, and the ones that did have fuel had kilometres or so of queues. And there was that really came to a head this weekend. It was the absolute worst I've seen it, with just fuel queues taking up the third lane on the highway coming out of Beirut. So, really it's just limped from one catastrophe to another.
That's right. The fuel shortage really does seem to be going from bad to worse. But explain to us, just how bad is it? What impact is it having on households, businesses and even hospitals?
Well, as I said, it's catastrophic. The impact is absolutely staggering. So the first impact is, of course, the petrol. Like I mentioned, people are now unable to use their cars, so they may not be able to get to work easily. But that's just one part of it. The other part is that the government's not buying enough fuel to supply the mains electricity. So we're down to 1 or 2 hours only of government electricity a day. But people usually top that up with diesel fuel generators, but the diesel fuel isn't available either. So the electricity just isn't there for several hours in the afternoon, and for many people at night time. Now the impact on businesses is that many of them simply have to close. Factories have closed, bakeries are threatening that they can no longer produce bread, and just small businesses are not open in the afternoon when they would be making a large portion of their profit, which is of course extremely damaging considering that they're already in the midst of a terrible economic crisis. And then the larger kind of catastrophe really is that hospitals, as you mentioned, don't have diesel fuel, and they're managing almost a couple of days or a week at a time managing to procure the fuel without knowing where they're going to get it from, and also it's digging into their profits. So all in all, of course, it's just simply impossible to run a country without adequate energy supplies, and that's what you're seeing here now, literally the collapse of a country that doesn't have adequate energy supplies.
Okay, Imogen Kimber, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for updating us from Beirut.